Hello and welcome to Arizona Cat's Eye, the University of Arizona School of Journalism news broadcast. I'm Grace Goro.
And I'm Michael Abbott. Arizona Cat's Eye is a 30-minute student-produced news magazine that brings you stories focused around Tucson and the University of Arizona. You can find these and all our stories on our website at azcatseye.com.
Coming up, tuition at the U of A continues to rise. Find out how it's affecting students.
Also, learn what Tucson police are doing to stop taggers in Tucson.
But first, have you wondered what happened to the memorial outside of the University Medical Center for the January 8th shooting? Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Lisa McLean has the story.
Strong winds made it difficult to keep the University Medical Center memorial intact. Candles toppled over and flowers were in disarray, but that didn't stop people from making the trip to pay their respect to those killed and wounded on January 8th.
This is the first opportunity I've had to come by, and because of the wind, I was really afraid it might not even be here yet.
Even with the station set up to create more weatherproof messages, it was clear that something needed to be done. Crystal Carpenter is a manuscript and congressional archivist for special collections at the UA Library. She knew the timing to start archiving the memorial was key.
And so there was like a transition period in trying to let people know that the sites were closing and so forth. So in that way, the timing, we definitely waited a couple of weeks longer to kind of help with that.
People from the community were still paying their respect to the victims, while volunteers carefully packaged up every single item on the lawn. Margie Nish, a nurse at the hospital, volunteered because to her, this was a little personal.
My daughter worked for Gabby Giffords for a couple years, and my husband was working with Gabe Zimmerman on a project.
The keepsakes do not yet have a permanent home, but Nish shares the same sentiment with many.
I think that by archiving it, saving it, hopefully turning it into something that everybody can see, touch, feel, will help the community continue to heal.
For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Lisa McLean.
Many people have given to victims' funds and local charities after the tragedy in Tucson. Here's Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Kelly Gross with more on the story.
The Tucson community has been so generous, given so much. 9 local organizations have decided to merge to coordinate efforts to aid victims of the Tucson tragedy.
In the wake of the January 8th shooting, the Tucson community and local organizations are reaching out in support of the victims and their families.
And the money has been rolling in ever since.
Since the shooting, $150,000 have been donated to the Gabrielle Giffords Hunger Fund.
Donations have come from all over the country, in fact, all over the world.
The food bank is one of 9 organizations forming the Tucson Together Fund, an organization working to best serve the needs of those affected by the shooting.
We're here to make sure that the dollars that are contributed by the community are going to legitimate organizations and to legitimate needs by victims.
Pima County Attorney Barbara Wall created the fund with 3 goals in mind: volunteer, donate, and be kind.
The needs of the victims are going to probably be fairly extensive, and we may not have sufficient funds to cover them.
But Lawal said it's not all about the money.
What really helps in the healing process for victims are the acts of kindness by strangers.
Help victims in the time of need. No matter when that need occurs, no matter how big that need is, be there as a resource for them.
And I think this is a great idea to bring it all together under one roof.
If you would like to help, go to our website at azcatseye.com.
This year, the University of Arizona had the highest increase in tuition out of all 3 Arizona universities, with 20%.
College kids are already poor enough as it is, and me personally am struggling. I work part-time and I'm doing 16 units, so it's pretty tough.
Undergraduates have seen the increase at its highest. In-state students paid $8,200, while out-of-state students paid $24,500. The Board of Regents will decide tuition for the upcoming school year in March.
The Tucson Police Department says graffiti is the most frequently occurring property crime in the city. I spoke with Tucson Police about how they're increasing their efforts to stop this illegal art.
From railroad yards to 4th Avenue, it seems no place is safe from graffiti, and the Tucson community has had enough.
In my mind, it's insane. There's nothing productive that comes out of it, and they're trashing their own community.
Captain David Neary of the Tucson Police Department has a plan to reduce the amount of graffiti in Tucson.
Our investigators estimate that about 20% of what you see is gang graffiti, and everything outside of that, that 80% factor, is all from people who are part of what we call tagging crews. People do this to be seen. They consider it a voice, an opportunity to be recognized. So to be able to remove that possibility, therefore begins to remove the motivation.
Graffiti is a crime of notoriety. The more dangerous the wall, the more respect for the graffiti taggers. A wall like the one behind me, in the middle of railroad tracks and gated on both sides, is difficult to access, which is probably why it's so covered in graffiti.
Professional muralist Joe Pagic has friends who used to graffiti illegally.
As far as graffiti goes, the extra thrill you get doing it illegally is that you're always looking over your shoulder, and there's almost a competition between graffiti artists of who can get the most, predominant wall in the most risky spot and do the best job on it.
Just because most graffiti isn't gang-related doesn't mean it's not dangerous.
They'll sometimes tag over each other's works, and then it'll start kind of a back and forth where they're destroying each other's murals around town, and it usually ends in fist fights or somebody going to prison for something. And for me, art's kind of like just about expressing yourself and, painting. It's not about beating people up and destroying each other's works.
For more information on this story, visit our website at azcatseye.com.
There are plenty of things drivers can't see when they're on the road. Cat's Eye reporter Cassandra Lau has a story about how the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration wants to save lives.
When Adam Goldberg drives anywhere in his truck, he gets to know his surroundings first.
Not only am I looking in my side view mirrors and my rear view mirror, once I put into reverse, I have my camera on now automatically.
Goldberg's backup camera is an extra feature. A potential law could make it the new standard. The NHTSA wants to require backup cameras in at least 10% of new cars by 2012, 40% by 2013, and all new cars by 2014. It's a part of a law called the Cameron Gulbranson Kids Transportation Safety Act of 2007. It's named after a toddler killed in 2002 when his father accidentally backed over him in the family's driveway. As fire captain, Goldberg knows tragedy can strike in the most ordinary situations.
Being a family that's suffering through a tragedy, I think everybody would understand that it's a win-win.
Advocates for the law say this is a dangerous blind spot for drivers, and a backup camera like this could prevent deadly accidents. 15-year-old Bianca Grant has only positive things to say about her younger brother, Victor Ione.
I have 3 older brothers, and having a little brother was like the best. I take care of him like if he was my kid.
Victor's life was cut short last September. A visiting neighbor backed over the boy in an SUV while leaving the driveway. Victor was just under 2 years old. The NHTSA estimates that each year backup crashes cause nearly 300 deaths and 18,000 injuries. Backup cameras can reduce fatalities by up to 38%. But for some, the proposed camera law is expensive. NHTSA says it costs auto companies up to $2.5 billion to put backup cameras in their entire fleets, an added cost that'd likely be passed on to customers. Some car insurance companies list discounts for airbags, alarm systems, and anti-lock brakes without any mention for backup camera discounts. Yomi Diaz is a coordinator with Safe Kids, a worldwide nonprofit group dedicated to promoting child safety. She says money shouldn't be a reason to oppose the rule.
Once that child is gone, they're never going to be replaced. So I would, yes, it is expensive, but a child's life is priceless.
For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Cassandra Lau.
This law is not a sure thing. The NHTSA says they're asking Congress for more time to issue an official rule. So no word yet if your next car will have this feature.
Coming up, Tucson children learn the art of poetry, and local sculpture artists take us into their studio.
And later on Arizona Cat's Eye, we'll follow UA baseball player Bryce Ortega in his battle to get back on the field after doctors told him he might never play again.